Stephen Morton writes, straight to business. Mr. Campia, you stated that Marvel Studios have the right to take liberty with alteration of events when it comes to comics to film interpretations. In the case of Marvel Studio films, I have to tell you that you could not be more wrong. Case in point, Infinity Gauntlet shown in Thor conventions. No story can be told without Silver Surfer, Thanos, and most importantly, Adam Warlock. You have to remember that the 616 Marvel Universe has never been rebooted, unlike DC's New 52, so this is a terrible idea. I say it's terrible because Marvel Studio films have directly impacted the Marvel 616, Iron Man, Nick Fury Jr., Agent Coulson, Hawkeye, etc., and that is not a good thing. Marvel is kicking butt in terms of films ROI, but DC has maintained its reputation with the Dark Knight trilogy because it straightaway distanced itself from the DCU. Superhero films will fade in time, and all that will be left are us comic book fans. Studios need to quit betraying us, aka Mandarin, for the masses are fickle and they will turn their backs in an instant.
Thank you so much for that passionate email, Stephen. I love passionate emails, and I love it when people say that I'm wrong. Anyway, I'm gonna let me say this. You bring up several really key issues, but let me start with this big general one. For 12, 15 years now, I have been hearing people every year talk about how superhero movies are going to be dead soon. They said it 15 years ago. They said it 12 years ago. They said it 10 years ago. They said it 8 years ago. They said it 5 years ago. They said it last year. Superhero movies are dying. They're going to die eventually. Really? Iron Man just opened with $700 million in its opening week. Don't talk to me about how superhero movies are dying. And guess what? Back in 1999, the comic book industry was almost dead. Marvel had to file for bankruptcy. They had to sell off the rights to Spider-Man and stuff like that just to keep their heads above water. So look, everything, comic books itself and comic book movies, everything ebbs and flows. Everything has their cycles. And sure, there's going to come a period of time, although I don't know when it's going to be, when superhero movies go on a bit of a decline, and then they'll come back, much like the comic book industry as a whole. But you raised a couple other things, talking about how, look, you have to be faithful to the comic book material. I said this before, I'll say it again. The movies are the movies. The books are the books. Mm-hmm. If you've got a problem, my brother, about Marvel changing things in the comic books to suit the movies, we'll take that up with Marvel. That's a comic book issue. They shouldn't do that. The comic books should not be influenced by the movies. They should just be their own thing. And I agree with you on that, but don't blame the movies for that. You need to do what you need to do to make the best movie possible. And that is ultimately the most important thing about all this. Now, this brings up another thing that I've been wanting to say. You know, a lot of, and I can't wait to hear what Schnepp has to say about this, a lot of people always harp and whine that critics are disconnected from the fans. That's really not true. Mm-hmm. Whenever, especially 99% of the time, when you look at critic ratings versus audience ratings, they're usually not all that far apart. Sometimes they're really far apart, and most of the time, they're not all that far apart. I want to suggest to you, there is a much bigger chasm and a much bigger disconnect between source material fans and comic book fans and movie fans. Mm-hmm. There is a much bigger disconnect, because if you read the comic fans chat boards and stuff like that, the people who are really into the comics, you would think that Iron Man 3 is one of the worst films ever made. Absolutely. It's terrible, it's awful, it does this and it does this and it does this. If you just read those chat boards, you think it was terrible. Mm-hmm. But look at the audience rating. The audience rating is 85%. The critic rating is 78%. There is a massive disconnect between the people who are comic book fans, like me, and the average regular going movie fan, because Marvel made a great movie that the audiences loved and the critics loved, and then off in this corner is this tiny, tiny little segment of the population, which we don't admit often enough, that we as comic book fans are a tiny, tiny segment. Off way in the corner are us complaining about Iron Man 3 and talking about how terrible it is when the rest of the world sees it completely differently. There is the big disconnect. And that's why when a lot of comic book fans come to me and say, mm-hmm. oh, such and such comic book is so awesome, it would make a great movie. The studios are stupid if they don't make this movie. I'd say, dude, there's a disconnect between you and what the regular movie-going
absolutely.
audience are.
It's
Because just
true.
because you and the rest of us who are fans of that character think it might make a great movie doesn't mean the larger movie-going audience would, and there's that disconnect. Anyway, I'm going on too long about this. Schnepp, what are your thoughts on this email we got from Steven?
Let me start from the end. I think even within the small micro niche of actual comic book readers that still exists on this planet, there's a disparity right there. I read comics every week. I'm a comic book reader. I loved Iron Man.
Great point.
I'm just not going to get online and type about it. I can't believe the Mandarin, blah, blah, blah. It's like I'm not vocal in a way that super ultra comic book fans who feel like they've been betrayed are. So that's even another micro percentage of just, if you take the 10% of comic book fans and, out of the 100%, and then make that 100%, there's like a 10% of those who are like vocally angry and will say it. So,
right.
I mean, I'm an Iron Man fan. I've been since I was a kid, and I loved the Iron Man 3 movie. And I'm totally okay with them changing things that were from 50 years of storytelling. So when you start to get so micro nerdy about facts and things like Thanos has to be part of the Infinity Gauntlet with the Silver Surfer. No, he doesn't. It doesn't have to be. It's
Correct.
a movie. You have the comic book. You could refer to that for the rest of your life. You have it hardbound and it's on your library shelf. There's the Silver Surfer Infinity Gauntlet trilogy or whatever. How many issues? Sorry, I'm losing my voice. The Silver Surfer has nothing to do with Thanos and in the Infinity Gauntlet in the Marvel universe because Silver Surfer isn't owned by Marvel. He's owned by Fox. So, sorry. That's how it is. Silver Surfer is owned by Fox. Fantastic Four is owned by Fox. Right now, in this time period that you're existing in with us, it's just not going to happen as a movie. You can reread the comic. There can be brand new comics with Silver Surfer fighting Thanos over the Infinity Gauntlet, but in the actual cinematic world, simply not going to happen. So here's another thing. When Batman came out, the DC Comics universe adapted to the hit that was Batman the movie.
True.
And changed his outfit into an all-black outfit. And guess what? Fans loved it.
Yeah, and talking about Dark Knight, I remember a lot of people, not a lot, but there was a small segment of people that were absolutely hated Dark Knight with Heath Ledger because everybody knows that Joker was born when Batman dropped him into a vat of acid men and they got it wrong and it ruined the movie. No, the rest of us love the Dark Knight. What are you talking
totally
about?
Awesome. Yeah, perfect re-origin. It's like you'll always have the original origin, and you also have the original Batman that Tim Burton made. You have all these different iterations of Batman on TV and film. And guess what? There's going to be a new Batman, too. So maybe you'll get your chance to have the Joker born the way you want him to be born, but it's probably not going to happen.
Hey guys, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button and make sure you subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and will keep you up to date on all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk Show. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter to find out about our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.